Pellegrino Matarazzo wins La Liga Coach of the Month. Not a lot of people talking about it, or so it looks like, but ended up taking home Manager of the Month. Ryan, you put at the end of this talking point that not a lot of people are talking about it. Why do you think that is?
Because he doesn't have MLS ties. Like, if you look at all of his coaching ties, Matarazzo has a whole bunch of Germany ties, a whole bunch of Italy ties, and now obviously Spain. But if you look at the teams he's managed, Hoffenheim, Stuttgart, there's another one in there I'm blanking on. But then obviously now you have Real Sociedad, which right now he's got 4 wins, 1 draw. I guess you could count maybe 3 wins, 2 draws, because one of them was in a cup game, but he won in a penalty shootout. So obviously you count that as a win. But that one draw, that lone draw, was to Atletico Madrid. Good point, good result. And then you beat Barcelona with Lamine Yamal. Great result. And if you think about it, they were, I think Sociedad was 4 points from the drop. Now that's now up to six, I believe, from the drop now. So he's building a little bit of momentum. Is it a new manager bump? You could argue that, but he's getting results done right now. And I think the reason he is not talked about is because he doesn't have an MLS. He never coached in college. He never coached in the MLS ranks. He started everything overseas in Germany. He tried to make. I know he graduated from university here and then went overseas to play a semi-pro professional career, whatever it was, in Italy, and then he just started coaching there. So he stayed everything he's done in terms of a professional soccer standpoint, whether that's coaching or playing, it's all been overseas. Obviously, he was born in New Jersey, so he is an American, but everything's been outside of that. So I believe that if Matarazzo decided to not go overseas, maybe play a little bit professionally in the MLS, or actually I don't even know if the MLS existed when he was doing all that fun stuff. But if he started coaching for the LAFC or the LA Galaxy or the New York Red Bulls or something, especially at the youth level and eventually making his way up, I think he 100% gets talked about a lot more. And like, look at Jesse Marsh, for example. He's talked about all the time, and he coached at the New York Red Bulls, and ultimately going overseas and doing his thing. Now the manager of Canada. Jesse Marsh is mentioned so many times, but Pellegrino Matarazzo is doing a phenomenal job with Real Sociedad right now, and the only reason he is not talked about is because of his path. And I think a lot of the media likes to talk about, their own guys. Like at Detroit, for example, we always like our own guys. We don't like to branch out a little bit. So you're not going to talk about your own guys, and I think that's 100% not. I think that's the reason why he's not talked about. But he's doing a phenomenal job. So I don't understand why he's not talked about when you're getting the results. I don't understand why it's not talked about. I think if he somehow managed the U.S. men's national team prior to this, I think it would have been talked about. But for some reason, he didn't do anything in the U.S. I mean, that's not a wrong pathway, but he didn't do anything in the U.S., and I think that he should be talked about, and he's not.
He should at least be noticed, and I mean that's the
Yeah.
benefit of having shows like ours. That's the benefit of having some of these other pages. I follow U.S. Men's National Team only on X. A couple of other pages that are based American based, but obviously they talk about the influence of people that were born here in the U.S. that have made their biggest impact elsewhere. A player comparison that comes to my mind is Flo Balogun. I mean, he was born here in the U.S., but what, he was 2, 3 years old when his family moved overseas. And then obviously it kind of grew up in the French school of thought, but, has made waves over in Europe. There's a lot of players that were born here, a lot of American influence that they were born here in the United States, but they've made their move elsewhere. They've developed elsewhere in other schools of thought, and he's another example of that. But just because the media, the mass media doesn't necessarily pick it up and you're not seeing it everywhere, that's why shows like these are important, because we're going to give someone like that the platform and the recognition that they deserve and everything that you just described. And everywhere that he's gone, the club has number one, they've established a cultural identity, but number two, they've won. Everywhere he's gone, he's made a positive impact in every single stop along the way after getting that early development. He's a brilliant soccer mind. And my thing is if the United States has not already looked into him potentially coming back and being a
They
part of
have.
this, they have. Maybe he just doesn't, maybe it doesn't sit well with them that he doesn't have, number one, any interest in doing it. And it very well could be that he doesn't have any interest in doing that in the future, that it's just not something that's on his radar right now. And so, there could be a sense of not disrespect, but almost like you're not one of us. And so that could play into why the bigger outlets just don't necessarily want to talk about it or focus on it. Obviously it's a cool thing to have. It is only 1 month. There's still a lot left to be decided, but the truth is that if he doesn't have any interest in coming back to the United States or being a part of this or really investing at all in USA Soccer, that probably just doesn't sit well with them. That would be my thought. But not to say he doesn't deserve recognition, because like I've said, everywhere, every stop he's been, they've won, and this is just the latest example of that.
Yeah, so he was offered the job and he turned it down to stay at Hoffenheim. Look, the guy's still 48, so he's got a long ways to go, and we already talked about it.
Yeah.
Pochettino's gone this year. He's gone at some point. Even if we somehow win the World Cup, he's gone regardless. We all know this. Pochettino was brought here to manage us in the World Cup, get everything kind of stabilized. I think Pochettino has kind of been the bridge. He'll be the bridge manager for this. I think between Berhalter and he'll be the bridge, get us in the World Cup, and then which it's a little bad to say if you really think about it that we have a bridge manager managing us in the probably the most important World Cup, most important year of our entire existence. But
Yeah.
Matarazzo is a manager. I mean, you can even throw Jesse Marsh. I think those two are managers that could eventually manage the USA at some point in time. It won't be for a while, and I don't even know if they would take the job. I mean, Marsh obviously still with Canada, regardless of what he does. But I don't even think Matarazzo
Yeah.
would take the job this year, depending on how everything goes with Sociedad. I think the only way Matarazzo takes this job is if he doesn't have one at the current time, and I think you need both things to align. That there's a job opening and he
Yeah.
doesn't have it, and I can't hate on it that the fact that he said no and wanted to focus on a pro or a club managerial career. I can't knock that. I mean, the guy has a plan, and maybe he likes just being a club manager rather than an international manager, because we talked about the differences. The international manager, you kind of have only like five or six real opportunities to prove yourself a year. Whereas as a club manager, maybe he wants to have that little bit more control, have a say in things on a day-to-day basis constantly, because you're playing 9, 10 months out of the year. So excuse me, you're given more opportunity to really showcase what you can do. But no, I really hope that this does not become a new manager bump for Sociedad. It's a good club. They lost a couple of players over the recent years. Shout out Martin Zubimendi, absolute dog. But no, I hope that he continues this thing going, because the more that we can get these managers, as important as it is for these American players to dominate over in Europe, I think it's as equally as important as we get a couple of managers here and there to start doing their thing over in Europe as well. To shout out Jesse Marsh and shout out Pellegrino Matarazzo.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing that you mentioned is job security. I mean that's something that I think a lot of people take into account when they make these decisions. He probably feels a little more secure in his club role than he would feel in leading the U.S. men's national team, just because again it is a situation that is constantly evolving, constantly moving. It's a club that has underperformed on the biggest stages of the world, and so the amount of immense pressure that you have as a manager to win with this team, and again, in getting limited opportunities, as you mentioned, all of that, all of that plays a role. All that plays into making that decision. So I think it's something that was probably seriously weighing on his mind. When you talk about Jesse Marsh, I don't think Jesse Marsh is. I think Jesse Marsh is a little bitter that he didn't get the job in the first place. So I don't
Yeah,
see him coming back from Canada and coaching the U.S. men's national team, especially if the Canadians find a way to have a relative level of success in the World
they
Cup. I think they
sucked in
love
the
him up
last
there,
one,
and
that's for sure.
I mean, he's from Michigan, so I mean, he was nearly there anyways. So I think he likes his spot. I don't. I mean, I sensed a certain level of bitterness from him, especially going back to those matchups of us playing them. Mostly because the U.S. men's national team or USA Soccer, I don't know if they really gave him a fair shake during the interview process, and I still think he should have been the guy. I love what Pochettino's done lately, but I still think in hindsight he should have been the guy. But either way, I don't necessarily see him coming back and taking it. But job security is another thing. There's a lot of pressure on the shoulders of American managers to do something because Americans expect a winner. We
Yeah, I would
expect a
agree,
winner.
but I think it's important to note that when Marsh was given the Canada job, that was when Berhalter wasn't sacked yet. So there's that, and I don't necessarily think you're ever going to take an international man. I don't think you're ever going to hire a club manager to the international game if they already have a job with the club. It's just the way it is. It's almost like yeah, it's like college football. You're not
Yeah.
going to hire a college football. You're not going to hire a college or an NFL head coach who currently has a job into college football unless for some reason they're coaching the Jets or the Browns or something.